Hi lacrosse fans, welcome back to episode number 23 of the Sticks and Picks Lacrosse podcast presented by Lacrosse Unlimited. Lacrosse Unlimited has provided the best equipment, apparel, and lacrosse footwear since 1990. Be sure to check out their website at lacrosseunlimited.com for all your lacrosse needs. I'm your host, Will Pechnig, alongside co-host Jake Fox. In today's episode, we talk to the newest assistant coach of the New York Riptide, Jason Crosby. He is one of the best teachers in the game today. He shares stories from his career in the National Lacrosse League and his coaching days with the Green Gaels, Brooklin Lacrosse Club, and the Israeli men's national team. We apologize for the audio crackling in this episode, but we are sure you will enjoy this one. He's a four-time Mann Cup champion. He's the all-time penalty minute leader for the Montreal Express lacrosse team. He's one of the best lacrosse minds in today's game and has an incredible personality. Welcome, Jason Crosby.
Hey guys, how you doing?
What's going on, Cros?
Nothing. Just doing this quarantine stuff, you know.
Oh, we're definitely excited to have you on here, and you have a great personality. I think lacrosse fans are going to like this a lot. So we're going to dive into things here and kind of talk about your minor lacrosse career. And you want to tell fans how you got involved in the game of lacrosse?
Yeah, well, lacrosse was not around when I was growing up. I grew up in Bowmanville, which was just east of Whitby, and I never knew lacrosse existed till I was 14 years old. I never played it, never up a stick till I was 14. A friend of mine who came from Whitby and played hockey with me said, why don't you try this? And I was like, what's that? I had no idea. And he said, well, it's this sport. I think you'd be good at it. So I picked up a stick and made the team. I was thinking of Bantam, I think. 14 is Bantam, right? So I think Bantam, that's why I started. And then I made the team right away. Neil Armstrong. I don't know if you guys know that name. He's a pretty big name around here. He was my coach, and so I made the team. And I loved it from the start. I was a hockey guy through and through. I was playing, I was A hockey, just, playing that. And that sort of lacrosse kind of turned it around a little bit. It's sort of, hockey was still number one, but lacrosse was inching as I went. So, and that first year we went to the national championship. Back then it wasn't Team Ontario stuff. It was your whole leagues went and played for the championship. We made it all the way to the national championship game at Queen's Park, double overtime. That was my first experience in a lacrosse season. So, you fall in love with the game. You guys know that. You just fall in love with the game. And from there, it just kind of blossomed. So, and, our minor days were pretty good. I had Scott McDonnell, Shane Santos, Wayne Primo was on our team. So it was a good group of guys. So it was fun.
What are some of the major differences you see between minor now and minor when you played? Because now you've been coaching minor a little bit here and there, and your boys are at that age. So what are some of the big differences you see now?
Well, it's kind of interesting. So you're on quarantine. So what you do as sports guys, and you do the same thing, you get out old tapes, right? And you start watching yourself, and it's hilarious. Like, it's so bad. Like, what you look like and what you thought you looked like is completely different. The game, it was pretty fast. We had a fast team. We played fast. So it wasn't the speed. It was just, I think, the skill level and how big kids are now. Back then, you're like tiny little guys running around. Now kids are a little more mature, I think, and they're more induced to doing weights and programming and getting into speed stuff. So all that changes the dynamic of the game a little bit. But, just other than that, I think it's the same game, right? It's, when you look at it, even from way back in the 60s, it's the same game. It's just a little different than what you normally see. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. It's certainly developed over the years with skill level, I would say, but it's definitely the game hasn't changed. The Nets are still in the same position, so the game's still the same today. We're going to talk about your junior career. You played for the Whitby Warriors Junior A team from 1991 to 96, and you just missed. You graduated in 96, and you missed that Minto Cup championship in 97. Can you kind of talk about your junior A career and your kind of your experience with Jim Bishop as your coach?
The junior, we had a really good whip before. Like I said, we had really good. Like I think we had on our team 5 or 6 guys that played NLL at least a little bit. So we had a really good team. So when we came up as a group, we had a big group come up together and slowly kind of developed the team. And the team wasn't doing very well, the Warriors, and we kind of rejuvenated it. And as we got going, we got better. So from that point, it was great to do, and it spurred me on to go and pursue lacrosse rather than hockey. Um, you know, I got drafted to the Generals. It was like a later round guy. Got cut like late in each 2 years, and then I decided to just quit hockey and pursue lacrosse. And playing really helped do this. With the Bishop thing is kind of funny because he came in I think 95, I think, or 96 in there. So the funny story with Bishop is, the man was a legend, and he had his ways, and his ways were very, very specific ways. So when you did things, you did it very technically and very to the point. Anything that was different, he didn't like. He didn't like at all. Zero kind of offsetting the norm from him. So the thing is that in 95, I got called up to the Redmen to play in playoffs. Derek Keenan broke his thumb, and they were losing to Brampton, I think, 3-1 or 2-1. And so Vipe called me up. So to my dismay, I go up to the Redmen, and Gary Gate is my camp partner. Derek was his partner. So I came in, and my first senior is with Gary Gate. So my mind is blown, right? Obviously, if you're at that age, you're like 19, it's blown. Like it's like this guy is your line mate. So he's teaching us, right? He's like saying, like, if I throw it to you, you don't catch it, I'm never throwing it to you again. Like that's what he said. I'm not throwing it to you. I got to catch the ball. It's the first thing I got to do, catch the ball. And during that playoffs, I had like 8 goals and 1 assist, and we beat Brampton back 3 games. I had like 3 goals a game. So they didn't know who I was, right? But they doubled Gary, and he always scored. So we beat them out. And so we go back next year in 96, and Bishop's now going over pick and rolls, right? So I'm doing sort of like the normal pick and roll now that Gary Gate taught me. So he taught me how to do this pick and roll. I'm like, awesome. I love it. So I go back to junior, doing this pick and roll, and Bishop is losing his bonkers. He's like loses his mind. He's like yelling and screaming that I get wrong. I'm like, what are you talking about? I just learned from the best player ever to play the game, and you're telling me I'm doing it wrong. Yes, I got kicked out of practice and like sent to the room, and we had this big, huge meeting in the room. And he sits down. He starts screaming and yelling, old school coach, this is how I want it done. And then I'm like, Bish, but Gary Gate told me I do it this was successful. Like, so I'm torn, right? So he says, you're either doing it this way or you're gone. So I left. I went to a camp in Maine for the rest of the summer because he kicked me off the team because I couldn't pick and roll the way he wanted to. But it's like, what do you do? You have a legendary coach and a legendary player, right? But I couldn't Bish was at the end of his sort of coaching at that point. And again, he wasn't sort of moving with the times at that point, right? Like it was very standard, like very field like you stay still when you pick. Well, no, you got to move and create angles and, get on the back and hit them and push and get your, no, he didn't want to do it. I'm like, okay, I guess I got to go. So I left. I left the team. I was like, okay, bye. And left the room, and I didn't come back until next. So, that story is, I don't know how, coaching the Gaels for years. I don't know how we like that, but Doug said it was fine.
Jeez, that's something. Oh my God. You also won 2 national field championships playing for Blue Knights Junior Field. What was that like? I can't imagine field lacrosse was super big at that point. That was kind of, from what I remember, Blue Knights was basically all there was.
Yeah, no, we was more getting out of Ontario, right? We played all the club teams, Brampton. They had a really good team, and those guys, right? But our team was stacked. Like we had Prout, myself, Junior, Tracy, you name it. Like it was like we just dummied everyone. Then when we got to the national championship, we're playing Saskatchewan, and it's like 23-0 at half, right? And like the only real BC was the only real sort of competition, right? So that was it was fun. It was great, and I know in that time Team Canada was trying out, so it was in that time where tryouts for Team Canada, so there was a lot going on, and it was fun. It was fun around the guys. You really know the guys. I know one good story is when we were with nationals, we went out drinking one night we weren't supposed to, and me and another guy, we went at the back door and got in the room just before the coaches came knocking on the door. So today we didn't know what was going on, and the coach is like, "Okay, all you guys at a curfew, you got to run." So they ran around the field as we're playing, I think, Manitoba. They ran the whole time around the field, the whole game, for not doing curfew, and we're playing, and we're like exhausted, gassed, like booze is coming out of our pores. We were garbage, but we didn't have to run. So I was like, thank God, the back door. So a little tip to everyone else: don't go through the front door.
That's awesome. Speaking about field lacrosse, you went on to an NCAA lacrosse career at St. Lawrence. How did that come about, and why did you end up choosing St. Lawrence?
It was again, there was no club, there's no like Evolve or Edge or Ottawa Capitals, none of that. So basically, you went to these camps in the States. So me and a couple guys from Whitby went to these camps like Cornell and stuff. So and through those camps and doing really well, and sort of, and Canadian lacrosse players weren't sort of deemed as they are now, right? It was sort of the beginning of it. And I just, was lucky. Did really well in some camps, and St. Lawrence was a spot that sort of intrigued me because I had teaching degree, small school. Like I had lots of offers from, Cornell and Brown and Colgate, Dartmouth, and just big schools. But to me, I needed a smaller school, and something with my program, because I knew education and lacrosse at that time wasn't really going to be something that, maybe in my future. So, and I wanted to play. I really wanted to play every day, all the time. So, I got to St. Lawrence, and I played the first series, and I ended the last series. I never came off the field, and I played hockey there for a couple of years. Really didn't get any games, but I was a team for a little bit. I played tennis, and I did a whole bunch of stuff. So, but the lacrosse career was awesome. I loved every minute of it. I wouldn't take it back for the world. I wouldn't change schools or nothing. It's, to me, it's a big experience, and I think you guys understand this. Experience is the best they could have, right? I know, talking to kids all the time, they say, well, I'm going here. I'm like, well, how's it going? Well, I'm watching a lot. I'm like, dude, play. Play. That's the whole point, is to play, regardless of where you go. D1, D2, D3, MAC, or what, doesn't matter. Play. Enjoy yourself, because those are the memories. Those are the times where you're going to look back and really say, I did something really good for me, right? So
You named off like a bunch of Ivy. Were you smart in high school?
I was not smart to start, okay? I met my wife in grade 11, and her dad was a nuclear engineer. So to date her, I needed to be smart. So hours of study nights with her, I developed into a good student, and that's all it is. Just like anything, you put the time in, you're going to get good at it. So I developed into a good student. I was a good student to start, but I developed into a good student, and I got to choose a pretty reputable program. So, thanks to her, I was able to go there.
Oh God, that's great. What would you say the biggest evolution of the field lacrosse game is from now to when you played?
Oh, well, obviously the sticks and how the ball holds, right? Like, I remember the sticks were like, they didn't have that hold, so the ball was on the ground a lot of times, and that loose ball game was a lot. Nowadays, it's possession. I know when I played, they chased you around. If you watch, Jake old Petramala videos and stuff, right? They just chase each other around everywhere. They're not sitting inside and doing. They're chasing everywhere, trying to get the ball, right? That's what happens. So basically, you really had to be good at controlling that ball, controlling your stick, which box across really helped. So, again, I'm not the fastest guy, so I really never had the ball until the last minute where they passed it to me and I scored. So, I wasn't running around everywhere. There was other guys that do that, right? So, but that's what I see. I see it's a little more hectic, a little more transition, a little more sort of up and down. Not that it isn't today, but I see a lot of more structure, getting in the systems and slowing it down. Back then, it was like sort of like a, mishmash of go, fast breaks, go to the net all the time. So that's what I see.
Can you explain to us what the Jason Crosby fall ball box tournament is and how that got started?
I don't listen, I don't know how it got started, honestly. I was the first Canadian at St. Lawrence, and since I got there, they've had a really good influx of Canadians, and they really like, because they have to play RIT a lot, right? And they're full of Canadians, and they win a lot. So Mike was trying to sort of get that together, and then obviously the evolution of box lacrosse in field lacrosse. So he started this tournament that he does with his team. So I guess how it goes is the team gets put into specific teams, because there's like 80 people on a team, right? So they play each other all day. So he came up with this because I was the first Canadian, and it was box lacrosse. And we still have a good repertoire, me and Mike, and I put my stamp on the school. I'm top 10 in scoring and stuff, and so he just developed a trophy and named it after me, which is a great honor, and I can never repay stuff like that he did for me. But it's kind of cool, It's just one of those things where I saw, actually, the funny story is I saw it on Twitter one day or on Instagram. I was like, what is this? I was like, so I phoned Mike. I'm like, this. He goes, that's the tournament I named after you. Well, what? He goes, well, why don't I come down? Why don't I drop the ball or something? He's like, we'll see. So I've been down a couple of times and shown my face. But that's how it came to bed. It's just a box across tournament within their fall ball. I think it's in fall, right? So they have this fall league of this box across. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of schools have started doing that, but like I told you earlier, I used to go to St. Lawrence all the time, and I created a good relationship with Coach Mahoney, and it's a great school. I mean, for kids from Ottawa, I love that because it's only an hour from home. It's right across the border there. So I think, St. Lawrence is a great school, and you definitely made an impact there.
We're going to get into a little fun here. We're going to do our this or that segment. So basically, Jake's going to give you two options, and you got to pick one. No explanation. You can explain if you want, but you don't have to.
Perfect. Let's
All right.
rock and roll here.
All right. Field or box lacrosse?
Box.
Playing for the Brooklyn Redmond or the Peterborough Lakers?
Oh, probably Peterborough.
Behind the back goal or just shooting it from the outside and putting the top corner?
I don't know if I ever scored a back goal, so I'll go rip it from the outside. Underhand, though. Got to be underhand. Top shelf.
Coaching or playing?
Jeez. Wow. That's interesting. Seeing as my body is falling apart right now, like literally, I had 2 surgeries in last year, I'm going to say coaching. I love coaching. I love teaching. That's just what I do. That's my passion. So
What's your better way of teaching, with game tape or old school with the whiteboard and marker?
old school, I think.
Tim Hortons or Starbucks?
Tim Hortons.
Garrett B. Rickard in Clarington or Iroquois Park in Whitby?
B. Rickard.
Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
Trucks or sports cars?
Trucks. I have a truck.
Pints in the basement or shots at the bar?
Pints in the basement.
AC/DC or Queen?
AC/DC.
Beaches or mountains?
Oh, probably beaches.
Interesting. I think we learned a little bit about you there. We're gonna get into your NLL career here. You were drafted 24th overall in the 1998 NLL draft to the Ontario Raiders, but I don't think you ended up playing for them. Can you kind of go through draft day and when it ended up happening with that situation?
The draft back then was just on the internet, I do believe. I don't think we were anywhere. I just remember getting sort of an email saying I got drafted to the Ontario Raiders, which thus was the last year of the Ontario Raiders. They turned into the Rock right after that, I do believe. So, it was kind of, it was awesome. It was a good kind of, when you get drafted and stuff, it's all the hard work that you did, something, right? So, but it's sort of interesting. I never played because I was sort of I was on the practice roster for a couple of years. And I could understand why they, at that point they had Gill, who else have they had Doyle, Gill, some really good guys, right, back then. So I could understand. Kimbo Squire back then I got released the second year there, and then I ended up getting a tryout with Rochester, and that's how I started. But getting drafted is always, an awesome part. Doesn't beat the Ontario Hockey League draft at Maple Leaf Gardens for 8 hours, but it was good all and good. So.
You ended up playing for Rochester, Montreal, Arizona, Buffalo, and Toronto. Which out of those 5 cities was probably your favorite to play for? I think I have a guess, but
yeah, Buffalo. Buffalo is for sure the best. I played there for 6 years, so it's most there is ridiculous there. So they're great, but fans are great pretty much everywhere. You just got to get to know them and get to know them for that long. You get a kind of rapport and you get sort of connected with the city. So I think that's why it's Buffalo.
You going back to another team you played for, you played for Montreal for 1 year. What was that like? How was that fan base? Do you think a team could end up back there eventually?
Yeah, I really do. Montreal is fantastic sports city. Their fans were passionate. They were right into it. And, there's game tapes of a guy coming every day in a Jason mask right on the glass, and he's banging on the glass all the time. They had signs, and they were very into it. And playing this fantastic. You got on, like, we always got on the train, went to Montreal and back on the train. So that was so much better than driving around, taking flights. You just got on the train, you got off, you get on, you get over. And the train picked us up in Oshawa, which was just up the road. So I wasn't like driving anywhere. I was like right there. So like that was probably the best experience traveling wise.
I know Montreal's become a pretty big, just Quebec in general has developed their lacrosse exponentially now to a lot of their players are playing D1, and we're seeing guys who are making that jump to the NL. You also played in Toronto, and you were named to the All-Star game in 2009. I think that was one of the last All-Star games. What was that like?
That was really kind of culminates your career, even if it's just once that you kind of made your mark, sort of, and you've done really well. It was out in Denver, so what else? Like, how else better to go to Denver for a weekend free and hang out and play with the best players and have a really good time. I really took it all in that weekend because I never considered myself as an all-star. I always tried to be that level. So, I really took it all in, and I still have a lot of, the jersey, the suits and this and that. And Anthony Cosmo was my room. So it was a really good time. It was fun. We got wined and dined, and they did a really good job there for that All-Star game for sure.
Who were some of the guys that you played in the NHL that really kind of, especially in your early days, took you under your wing and kind of taught you the ways of being a pro athlete?
Well, it's kind of funny that if I was to ask you guys, name your top 5 greatest of all time box lacrosse players, right? Is John Tavares in there?
Yeah. Yeah, he's probably second or third.
Is John Grant Jr. in there?
He's my number one always.
Okay. Is Gary Gade in there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So if you're looking at 3 of the top 5 guys on your list and my list, that's who I played with my whole life, my whole career. So I'm blessed, absolutely blessed, to be able to play with 3 probably of the top guys ever to play the game. And like I said, as a junior kid coming up, Gary told me little things, like I said, like if it's here, you just do here, and then playing with junior was a different experience, right? And then playing with JT for years, you learn so much from these guys. And that's why they're the greatest, right? Because they can see that game a little, I consider myself a guy that can see the game really well. And that's why I kind of thrived. But these guys were at a different level for sure about seeing and reading the game. So, again, very blessed to play and more to play with guys I got to play with for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And you fell up short a couple times of winning an NL championship, but in summer ball and major series lacrosse, you ended up winning 4-man cups. You played 122 games, had 137 goals, 193 assists for 333 points. And I think your favorite stat out of all that's 166 penalty minutes. Can you talk about your 2000 Man Cup championship with Brooklin Redmond?
Yeah, that was probably the most unexpected for sure, because we went in, because we got thumped by Brampton, and they had all the big stars back then, Veltman, Teeter, like they were, and we're like, we're just a bunch of younger guys, like Sean Williams, myself, Rosicki, Prout, Trudeau, those guys were all, that's our offense. That was our offense, young. And Victoria comes in, rolls in with Gate, Toth, Dowling, like older guys, really experienced guys. And it was like, okay, how are we going to do this? And we just said, screw this. Like, let's just go get it. And the veterans on the back end, Fusco, Peroni, the older guys really helped us fuel that. Anything can happen. Just go out and play. Take your bag off. Good things will happen. And it did. And we swept that team. If you look at that Victoria 2000 team, we swept that team 4-0. Every game, I think, was like 15-13 until the last game. So they're exciting games. The Iroquois Park was like jammed, 6 rows deep. I've never seen it ever that way in my whole lifetime playing in Iroquois, except for that and Cup. And that one was special and always will be because it's your first. It's one of those things, right?
You ended up going to the Peterborough Lakers. You and me kind of did the reverse. I started with Peterborough with the Brooklyn. Now you did Brooklyn to Peterborough, and you won 3 main cups there. Talk about Peterborough in general and how it was winning main cups there, because it's probably, for the amount of people are there, one of the biggest hotbeds of lacrosse there are.
Can't hear you.
Talk about Peterborough and the 3 main cups.
Do that
you won.
again.
All right.
Oh, can you hear me now? Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, we'll go again.
Those are interesting. I know the first time I got traded to Peterborough was a very interesting day. So I go to Peterborough for the first game, and I roll in, and I know some guys, junior, and some guys I played, like I said, Blue Knights with, and knew playing right. But I roll in and I sit down, and it's a completely different world in Peterborough. Completely different world in Peterborough than when I came from. So like Brooklyn was very like sort of like on point. Everything was done sort of like structured. Bro was like to the wind. Like people rolling in, guys smoking in the room, drinking in the room, like. And then I sit down, and I'm like getting dressed, and I see this guy next to me. His stall's empty. He's Dougie Hill, right? I'm like, who's Dougie Hill? The whole Peterborough guy goes, don't worry, he'll be here. I'm like, it's second warm-up. So I go for second warm-up. I come back. He's still not there. I go up. I go to the washroom like 5 minutes before the game. I just go take a leak. I come back, and there he is dressed. He's dressed like a ghost. He came in, got dressed, and sat down. Was fully dressed. I was like, what's going on? And he's like, hey, I'm Dougie. I'm like, hey, I'm Jason. How are you? So that was my Dougie Hill. And those guys just like, they loved each other though, man, that team. But it's just like the bickering and the yelling at each other and just the kind of anarchy around Peterborough was interesting. And it was something that, I'll take away for the rest of my life. But it was a good time. Like those were good teams. And, I love playing there, and those guys will always be sort of, in my lacrosse world. And, I see them, a lot of guys with the Evolve stuff with Tracy and stuff a lot. So we have a lot of good times reminiscing for sure.
You retired from the game in 2010, but you made a return in 2013 for a couple of games. What was the deal with that?
Oh, what was that? I did? Oh, yeah, it was, my body was kind of going. My ankle had ankle surgery and stuff, and I had a family, and a young family, and sort of my wife just said, "You're done." Okay, sure, I'm done. But I guess a couple of days or somewhere in those times they don't have any lefties. So Utley phones me up, says, "Do you want to play?" I'm like, I can hardly like run anymore, but sure, I'll play. And one of the first games I think was at Brooklyn. So I had to go to Brooklyn to play against the Redmen with Peterborough, and I got like 5 shifts or something. That's all he needed me for, right? Just to throw in as a spare part to get through the game. It was fine. It was all right. I didn't mind it.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'm sure if people knew you and saw your face right now, they get a good kick out of that story. So we're going to get into our word association game. So basically, Jake's going to say one word, and you got to think of someone in the game of lacrosse that comes to mind first. You can explain why, or you don't have to. It's completely up to you.
All right. Your first word, Cross, is athlete.
Athlete Tavares, seeing as he was drafted to the CFL as a safety, and the guy at like 44 years old was still playing better than 20-year-olds. Like, that guy is, he's just an athlete. You're born with it. It's like Jaromir Jagr, right? You're just born with that gene, keep playing, and it's inherent in you, and you have that ability. So JT for sure.
I'm convinced Yager was the way he was because he was banging all those supermodels for so long. But the next word is goals.
Coles Jr. for sure, right? Just he's pure goal scorer. That's all you can say. Like, just I've seen him do stupid stuff. Like, I would like break my bones, and I don't know how he does it, but he does. Just pure goal scorer, Junior.
Playmaker.
As much as I hated him every time he was out there, is probably Josh Anderson. Just no idea how he sort of did it, but probably one of the smartest guys ever to play the game, for sure. And, being at the size he was, you have to have that intelligence, and he just knew how to pick apart. He knew how to pick apart, everything that you threw at him. So I'd probably say him.
Agitator.
Holy moly. I don't know. That's a weird one. Agitator. Probably the Evans. Like, I played with the Evans for so long. You doesn't matter which one. Like, you just, all three of them, just as a group, just any one of them that were on. Like they just, all of them never stopped talking. Although those was the less talker. Scotty and Shawnee, they never shut up. Ever shut up. But it was to their, like, once they had you in that conversation, you're done. Like, they had you, because one thing they did, and if they scored on you, and it was done. You were done. And they weren't afraid. They weren't afraid to back it up with anything you brought at them. So probably the Evans, especially Scotty and Sean, sure.
Defense.
Oh, Andy Ogilvy.
Right.
I watched that guy play for the first years in Buffalo. Just a monster. Ogie was a different breed, that guy, and going and practice against him. My shoelace always came untied, I think, when I saw him come up, so I had to go. I threw the poor rookie in there with him. Didn't have to face him.
Goalie.
Probably Mikey Thompson, him or Patty O'Toole. I think those two stand out to me. Being obviously with Rochester my first couple of years, and having a good relationship with Patty, and then Mikey, obviously Buffalo, and with Peterborough for those years. Just a super intelligent players, super nice guys too. Both of them would do anything for you, and they weren't ever accosting you or telling you it's your fault. They always took their blame on it, and they were great teammates. So,
Coach.
I'm going to probably say Darius or Batley, one of the two, those two. Darius were always believed in me, Troy, those guys, that group of guys. And then Batley obviously was super influential in helping my career at Peterborough and stuff. So, it's hard to pick one when you've been around so much and banged around with too much teams. It's hard, and had so much success with these guys. It's hard to do that. So just those guys probably.
Greatest of all time.
Like I said, I played with three of them. right? So, again, you went through this list of goal scorers and stuff and athlete stuff. Like if you're looking at goals, junior, you're looking at overall JT, right? So one of those two for sure.
Hilarious.
Hilarious. Pat McCready, probably. Pat McCready. He's always joking and stare. Those guys. Probably these guys constantly always looking for things to do and joke and get under guys' skins and do all that.
Dedication.
Hey? Oh. Doug Louie. I know he's not a player, but being around him and seeing what he does with the games and how he is instrumental keeping this team together and how it is and where it came from. You know, his whole life is the Green Gaels, and you know, for me, learning from him in that stature and how to become a better coach and a better GM, sort of, and how to run things and how to do it right. It's probably Doug.
Fast.
Fast? Are you talking like end-to-end fast or like quickness fast?
Not Jason Crosby fast.
Not me fast. No, not at all. They called me. What they called me back in the day? Called me Seabiscuit. Was my name in Buffalo, Seabiscuit, because I galloped around everywhere. Wasn't fast. So I'd say end-to-end fast, probably Stevie Toll. But quickness fast, I've never seen anyone faster than Ethan Luke. He was ridiculously from the sideboards. Like, it was like, it's like ridiculous. That's all I have to say.
We're interviewing Toller soon, so I'm sure he's going to really appreciate that. The last one I got for you is the one that's always my favorite to hear is jackass.
Jackass. Wow. Like, what do you mean as in jackass, though? Like, what is the context here?
Whatever you want it to mean, man. It's up to you.
Probably, I'd have to say Jonas Dirks. Only because I roomed with him for 6 years in Buffalo and in Arizona. And you guys know, when you get a roommate for so long and you do shit, he's just a jackass. And he's a sort of a jackass to begin with. So, and then being so close to him all the time and hanging out and being roommates with him. Yeah, like stealing my shirts and doing stupid shit all the time. So probably Dirksy.
That's great. I'm sure Dirksy will love to hear that. We'll have to get him on here one day and see who his biggest jackass is. I don't know if he'll say you or not, but who knows?
Probably not. I was nice.
No, we know. You're a good guy. We're going to get into your coaching career. You've had quite the great coaching career so far with even minor lacrosse with your kids and all your success with the Green Gaels. Can you kind of just start talking about how you've done coaching with your kids so far in their careers?
I'm a teacher by trade, and I've been coaching for years, and I love coaching and teaching kids, and just sort of inherently in me. You know, it's one of those things where I loved every minute of it. I love teaching kids. I love, you know, giving them everything they have to them. And with the girls, I couldn't ask for a better organization. You know that, Patch. So, you know, and learning Underdog and the fans and the support stuff and the way the Green Gaels do everything, I couldn't ask for anything more. And then now at the Redmond, you know, Jake, we do things right there, and you know, we're trying to teach younger guys, you know, how to get to that next level and what it's going to take, and you know, it takes patience and time and a lot of effort and you know, a lot of commitment and stuff. So, you know, the two founders loved it. Those were special times for sure. But yeah, like I'll be coaching, and I coach my kids, and we won a Tyke national championship or Ontario champion Tyke, and with my little one, and my older one's a goalie. He's a midget now. So coaching them has been, you know, something that you can never get back, and you're teaching them those lessons, and teaching them how to be good people, respect players, and what it takes to have commitment to win, and how it's going to relate to your own life, and all that sort of stuff is amazing, and you get a lot of memories, and hopefully if you ask them, they had a good time. But depending on the day, that daddy yelled at them too much, probably one. So I wasn't shy with them at all. When I was coaching them, coach, I wasn't dad. They've never called me dad. They always coach, and that was put in real early with them, that you're just one player on this team. You're not daddy's boy on the team, because to me that represents a sort of a disconjointed to everyone else. You're there, and your rules are the same, and I yell at you the exact same as I would anyone else, and I teach you and show you the exact same. So, again, depending on the day, would be depending on whether dad was a good person that day or not a good dad. So,
You mentioned your Founders Championship with the Green Gaels in 02 and 04. One team I want to talk to you about the Green Gaels, though, is the 09 team that was absolutely stacked with Matthews, Johnny LaFontaine, Sorchetti, Shane Jackson, and a couple other guys that you guys obviously didn't win the Founders that year, but talk about that group and seeing that group now where most of them are, top players in the NLL now.
Yeah, that was a really special group for sure. A lot of them stayed back or were coming into to that team. I know Shane Jackson was on that team, and we cut him. We cut him that night, the last night, I think. And then we're having a meeting, and his name came brought up, and it was like Curtis Knight's in the same boat too. Like I was going to cut Shane and Curtis Knight from a Gales team, and you look at them like how, like you think, how would you do that? And you obviously that's probably one of my biggest mistakes as a coach, and not seeing that talent. But cooler heads prevailed, and we talked about it. And I think Doug said he phoned him at like midnight to come back to the tryout, that we weren't done yet. Like, I couldn't imagine being him, getting cut and going through all those emotions, trying so hard, and then getting called at midnight to say, "Hey, made a mistake, come back." So, but that team was stacked, and we just rolled all the way to the final. And then in the final, an 18-year-old kid from Edmonton, 18-year-old referee from Edmonton, headed to referee minor rules in a junior championship, and we lost. It was like we scored 7 goals in like the first quarter, and they all got called back because he was calling the head of the stick over the cylinder of the crease, not like the feet. So we were livid. And of course, that was a good coaching moment though for me, because I was losing my mind. Like, I didn't know what to do, right? I didn't have that calmness to me yet, to say it's all right, keep going. It was just chaos. And then at the end of the game, it's done. And you're like, what happened, right? So all these sort of experiences you experience, even these ones, tell you to do it maybe a different way. And I know, Foxy, from when you see, or when I coached you in Team Ontario, from what I coach you now, there's a difference, right? So you learn, and you're always learning, and that team is really special. And I'm pretty sure there's like 7 or 8 NLL guys on that team in Junior B. So it was special for sure.
That was actually one of the questions I was going to ask you. Like, you're coaching your kids, you coach Green Gaels, and obviously you coached me with Team Ontario, did some Team Ontario. Now you're with the Brooklyn Lacrosse Club as well. What are some of the differences for your coaching style when you take from coaching kids or younger guys, and then when you come and coach Brooklyn, where you're coaching all pro players, basically?
don't forget the whole nationality of Israel, right? I got that too.
Sorry about that. I forgot about that.
No, I'm just saying, like, it just, again, kids, kids aren't sort of, you got to teach, it's not like kid groups, but it's more with the kids. You got to teach them more, maybe life skills sort of thing, like hard work, determination, never quit, stuff like that they're going to take. Not a lot of X and O's per se, but more, okay, something goes wrong, how are you going to react? If this situation happens, how do you do it? Like, how are we as a team going to do this? How are you as a player within this team going to help us? As opposed to coach adults, it's a lot of X's and O's and a lot of breaking down and trying to see what they're doing. There's not a lot of that. You're a cog in this wheel. Well, you know that already. We shouldn't have to talk about commitment. We shouldn't have to talk about, what you're going to do for you and how much effort you're going to put out. Like, that should be a non-negotiable, right? And efforts is non-negotiable. That's something that you do, and those certain traits that you learn from there, you should have when you get there, and that sort of changes that way.
You brought it up, and I was going to bring it up. I just forgot to mention it in your coaching resume, so sorry about that. But talk about coaching the Israeli national box team and being that with Brad MacArthur as well.
Yeah, that's something special. To see these guys come from nowhere to where we are now, and the level of commitment they put in, and the level of joy they have playing is really nice. Sometimes, you guys have been in teams with a grind and you don't see that joy a lot. It's just at the rink again, playing, right? These guys, and they have fun. They love it. They are like asking 1,000 questions that you think they should know, but they don't. And me and Brad are always shaking our head like, man, these guys don't quit. And they love this, eh? And yep, they do. They'll travel anywhere to play with each other. And there's such a bond there with that team and that family and the Israel lacrosse community, that it's blowing up right now for sure. If you at Twitter and you look at the Israeli programs everywhere, it's blowing up, and they're becoming sort of a teams to be reckoned with, everywhere in the sport. Girls, younger guys, men, whatever. So it's fun.
Last question I have about your coaching is, what do you see in the future? Do you see yourself jumping to the NL at some point, or are you kind of content with doing the whole kids and local coaching scene?
Well, my youngest is first year, so I still got 4 or 5 years there, and I'm sure, I don't know what they're going to do after, or if they not, or if they go and play junior or the Gaels, so be it, and I'll be there to help and support, like I always do. As for NLL, yeah, you know what? That's always, me and Brad have sort of been together for a while, and we're kind of committed to doing, this, and we're learning every day and always get better. And and I know is just getting the foot in the door that's all you need, right? Like, once you get your foot in the door, then you're fine. It's just getting that the door is going to be is not a problem, but just that's the struggle. But listen, we're doing good things in Brooklyn. We're creating a culture there and a good team, as if I could say, drafting wise and the young talent we have. Give us a couple of years, I think it'll be a team that'll do some damage, and hopefully maybe, with the expansion of NL teams, you never know, right? It's just the right fit, the right team, the right city, and then, off you go.
Yeah, exactly. You guys are going to be a great team with Brooklin Lacrosse Club in years to come. You got a lot of great young talent on that team, and I know you and Brad personally, and it's a great coaching staff to go along with talented players. So we're going to get into our story time here. Speaking about Brad MacArthur, I know you and him are really good buddies, probably best friends. So I got a story. You and Brad were playing lacrosse together, and you guys were teammates and he punched you in the face after you score a goal. Can you talk about that story?
Well, it's the classic, staring at yourself, right? Like I'm sure you've been there, and they're like, you score a goal, you're like, nice. You go to the bench, you run to the bench, and the days of the big jumbotron. So like you go, you watch yourself, you watch your reads and stuff. You're like, oh, staring at me, and then out of nowhere, he just clocks me in the side of the face, and it's on video. You just see it, and my face goes like in the camera and out of the camera. And then I come back to the camera after he punches me in the face because he saw me staring at it, right? So he thought, I'll give Jay a little jab in the face, bring him back to earth and say it's only a goal, but it was pretty funny at the time.
That's definitely awesome. And I've seen that video before, and it does give me a good laugh because I know you two personally, and I think it is funny seeing that. So I'm going to get into another story here that I've known you for many years now through the Green Gaels, and we go to the Jim Bishop golf tournament every year. And before we get into the golf tournament, I'm going to bring up your Wikipedia page here. It says you're 5'8", 305 pounds. So that stature as a golfer, that's more John Daly-like, I'm going to bring up. And how's it possible that you end up winning the Jim Bishop Memorial Golf Tournament every year? You're always about 37 under on a 18-hole course.
Cheating.
No cheating, actually. No, zero cheating. At St. Lawrence, I have a golf course at St. Lawrence, and I'm a pretty good golfer growing up to start. So I used to golf a lot in college, and then what you got to do is you got to bring golf with you. So I always bring good golfers with me. So the guys at the years that we won, the other three guys are really, really good golfers. So that's the whole point is you don't worry about yourself. You got to bring guys with you to help you win the tournament, right? I get to drink all day and hack around while these guys play real golf. So that's how you do it, right? You don't do it yourself. That's like silly, right? You got to think smarter, not harder. Think smarter, not harder.
I remember, I think last year, me, Connor Kiernan, Keenan Cook, and DeRoche all played in that tournament. And yeah, we definitely were the best golf team. I'll say that.
No, that's a disaster foursome right there. If I ever seen one, my Lord. Did you guys even like golf, or did you like to throw it?
No, we went like minus like 12. I don't really play golf, so I was kind of just sitting in the truck the whole time. They'd be teeing off. They're like, Fox, you want to tee off? No, I'll just hit my putt. I'll just putt.
Just a putter, eh? That's it? Everyone does all the work. You do the glory at the end, eh? The 1 foot putt, that's yours, eh?
Hey, I'm a great mini golfer.
Yeah, no, it's definitely awesome seeing that frame, that John Daly frame of yours, according to Wikipedia. Out at
that's not my frame. Although on quarantine, it's not the best frame in the world right now, but it's not that.
Oh, that's awesome. We're going to get into the final thing here. As you know, in Ontario lacrosse, there's been a lot of abuse towards officials in the last few years, and you've been a player and a coach now for many years. So we're going to ask you who your favorite ref is and why.
I refed, right, for 1 year?
Yeah.
I don't like, all those guys were pretty good. When Ecclestone probably starting out, he was really good. I found him to be really very he communicated well, and he really never got kind of excited. And the repertoire, Bailey was always good. Cropman was good. I see Hess doing really well right now. I think he's developing, doing really good. Seeing him as a person and having him as a player. Now he's reffing. He's good. In the goalie, Foxy was always my nemesis. Me and Foxy always had a really good time because he liked to chirp, and so did I. So we always had some really good conversations on them.
So you said communication with some of those refs there. Is there anything else that you would kind of say to help the officials in the game of lacrosse by kind of limiting the abuse towards them?
Manage the game. like manage the game. I think that's like I've used being in referee classes for the last couple of years and listening to the younger refs. They're screaming out, kick them out. I'm like, whoa, timeout. Like, why are we getting to that point where we're kicking out? Like, have you talked to them? Like, you really got to communicate the coaches and really tell them what you're seeing. Don't be afraid to communicate early, to say, if you need anything, talk to me. Don't yell, talk to me. Just say, come here, and I'll explain what I see. And, they respect that, right? If you don't give them the time, that's when they get upset, I think. So, and then managing the game, like seeing where the flow is going. And, not everything's a penalty, because you and I know in lacrosse, every trip down the floor you can call penalty. Like every trip you can call something, high stick, slash, something, hold. So you got to manage it properly and really kind of take your integrity and how you view the game and sort of mold it to that sort of scenario. And I think if that's the case, as a referee, you'll be.
Yeah, exactly. I think having a good conversation with the officials, between coaches and players to the officials, I think it's always good, and just remaining respectful at the same time. So we do appreciate you coming on here and talking with us, and wishing you the best of luck in your future coaching career, and hope to see you soon.
Thanks, guys. It's been awesome catching up with you too. And I'll see you guys around Garden Rickard and Iroquois really soon after this stuff's done.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Sticks and Picks Lacrosse Podcast presented by Lacrosse Unlimited. Don't forget to check out their website at lacrosseunlimited.com for all your lacrosse needs. A big thank you to True Lacrosse for their continued support in growing the game of lacrosse through our podcast. True Lacrosse provides lacrosse athletes with top-of-the-line equipment and sticks in today's game. Follow us on our social media pages on Twitter and Instagram at SticksPicksLax and on Facebook at Sticks and Picks Lacrosse for more lacrosse content, future episode releases, and some awesome lacrosse giveaways. We are currently giving away another True Comp SF 4.0 shaft. Head over to our Instagram page for more details.